I grew up thinking that I always wanted to be a doctor, and then when I went away to college, I asked myself, do you really want to be a doctor? Why do you want to be a doctor? And I was afraid I didn't know the answer to the question myself. So when I went to college, I got a very broad liberal arts education that emphasized science, because I had a feeling I was heading in that direction. But I was just afraid that I would get into college and say, oh, you know what, I really wanted to be an astronaut. I didn't really want to be a doctor. So, and I would have, if I only did medical stuff, I would be poorly trained to do anything else. By the time I finished college, I knew I wanted to go to medical school. And I went to medical school, and in medical school you get exposed to all different areas. And as a medical student, when you do your surgical rotation, you finish it and say, oh, I want to be a surgeon. And when you finish your psych rotation, you finish it and say, I want to be a psychiatrist. And it happens with every rotation. When I finished my peds rotation, I said, I want to go into pediatrics. And I found that I kept coming back to that, even after the other rotations. So I applied for a pediatric residency. But during my fourth year of medical school, when you're applying for residencies, I had some elective time. And I had never really done any neonatology. So I applied for an elective at the University of Kentucky. And I spent a month in the neonatal unit in Lexington in an area that I knew nothing about. And I finished that month and I came home and I said to my family, this is what I want to do, I think. I started my pediatric residency the following year, and in a pediatric residency you do a little bit of everything. I did everything. I think I was pretty good at everything, but I really decided that I couldn't see myself spending the next 30 years looking in children's ears and talking to parents about constipation and normal pediatrician problems. That I like to see the immediate effects of what I did. You know, a pediatrician, while they do a wonderful job, you give a child antibiotics, they come back in 2 weeks, almost every kid is better. Neonatology, a baby has an acute problem and you do something and it either works or it doesn't, and you know that within a relatively short time. So I found I was attracted to that type of a field. So when I finished my pediatric residency, I applied for neonatal training. I did that at Columbia Presbyterian in New York City. And I moved to Florida when I finished that program in 1987, and I've been at Plantation General since. So it'll be 26 years in 2 months that I've been here at Plantation General. The best part of my job is when babies go home. I always tell parents, the babies, it's not my baby, it's your baby, and I'm just kind of taking care of it for you until he or she is ready to go home. And some of these babies are easy to take care of and they go home in a very short time, but other babies are here for weeks and months on end. We have babies that are here for 4 months, 5 months. And when we finally get them to go home and they go home and you see the smile on the parents' faces, that's the reward of my job. It gets reinforced when parents come back years later. There's a knock on the door at the NICU on a Thursday night or something, and they say, Mrs. So-and-so is here, she wants to see you. And to be honest, you don't always remember who Mrs. So-and-so is, but she'll say, don't you remember I was here with my 25-week baby in 1994, and I wanted you to see him now because he just graduated college, and things like that. And that's the reward for us.